I walked into the boardroom, the polished floors clicking under my boots, the CEO badge heavy on my chest. They didn't know yet. Not her. Not her idiot lover. Madison sat at the long oak table, laughing too loudly at something Brandon whispered in her ear. Her golden hair flipped over her shoulder like she was 17 again, not a 34-year-old married woman with a husband she thought was too boring to notice. She thought I was just a cook, a nobody. She thought she could screw around behind my back without consequences. And for months, I let her think exactly that. In secret, I bought the company where she and her little boy toy worked. Not because I cared about the damn business. Because I wanted the moment I was about to serve them today, raw, cold, and brutal. I cleared my throat. The room fell silent. Madison's blue eyes snapped toward me, confusion flashing across her face before a fake smile curled on her lips. "What are you doing here, babe?" She giggled, like I was some fool who wandered in with a pizza delivery. I set the stack of papers on the table with a hard slap. Among them, hidden like a loaded gun, were the divorce papers she'd already signed without even looking, just another boring document. I had slipped into her paperwork 2 weeks ago. Today, I was not her husband. Today, I was her reckoning. "My name's Ryan Carter," I said, voice steady. "Effective immediately, I'm the new CEO of Carter Holdings. Nice to meet you all." Murmurs exploded around the table. Madison's fake smile cracked. Brandon turned white as a ghost. I pulled out the photos. Not fuzzy screenshots. High def, indisputable shots of her and Brandon tangled together in ways no work friends ever should be. Late-night meetings, hotel rooms, sneaking kisses in the parking lot like teenagers who thought they were invisible. I scattered the photos across the table like a magician revealing his last trick. The air was ripped clean from the room. Madison stood up so fast her chair clattered to the floor. "You can't do this," she hissed, voice shaking, but not from shame, from fury that she'd been outplayed. Brandon practically crawled across the table toward me. "Ryan, please don't ruin my life." But the wheels were already in motion. They'd been turning the day she first lied about working late. I just stared at him, watching him squirm like the rat he was. Madison wasn't even trying to defend him. She was too busy hissing at me under her breath, still thinking she could sweet-talk or threaten her way out of this. "You think this is about you?" I said, laughing once, low and humorless. "It's about her. She made her choices, and now she can live with them." I picked up my badge, clipped it to my belt, and gave her one last look. No anger, no sadness, just the quiet, icy finality of a man who's done being lied to. "Meeting's over," I said. "For both of you." And just like that, the woman who once swore to love me forever lost everything, her job, her lover, and her chance to ever hurt me again. But trust me, this was only the beginning. The real story started when the office doors slammed behind me, and the real Madison finally showed her claws. The second the heavy doors swung shut behind me, I heard the chaos erupt inside. Raised voices, chairs scraping, Madison's screech cutting through like nails on a chalkboard. I didn't stop walking. Not until I hit the empty hallway and let the adrenaline simmer into something darker. Victory? It didn't taste sweet. It tasted like blood in my mouth. I leaned against the wall, my head pounding. Madison's betrayal replayed in my mind. Every fake smile, every "I love you" she whispered when she thought I was too stupid to notice the lipstick smudges that didn't match hers. She thought she was invincible. But now, she was just unemployed and exposed. My phone buzzed. It was her. Of course. "Madison, you need to answer me right *ing now." I didn't. Let her stew. Let her suffer for once. I made it outside just in time to see her barreling through the revolving doors, Brandon trailing behind her like a kicked puppy. She spotted me instantly, rage twisting her perfect features into something almost unrecognizable. "Ryan," she screamed, charging across the marble like a woman possessed. "What the hell is wrong with you?" I didn't move, didn't flinch. Just let her words bounce off the armor she'd built herself. "You embarrassed me," she shrieked, shoving me with both hands. People stared. Phones came out. Good. Let the whole damn world see the real Madison. "You lied to me first," I said calmly, my voice slicing through her tantrum. "Repeatedly. Every late meeting. Every girls' night out. Every time you crawled into bed reeking of someone else's cologne and thought a quick shower would erase it." Her face flickered. For a split second, guilt, real guilt, cracked through her mask. But then it was gone, replaced by pure venom. "So what if I did?" She spat. I was bored. "You're boring, Ryan. You talk about recipes and grilling steaks like that's supposed to make a woman want to rip her clothes off. Every word was a dagger, but I stood my ground. I wouldn't give her the satisfaction of seeing me bleed. I gave you everything, I said, my hands curling into fists. A home, trust, a future. And I wanted more. She screamed, her voice breaking. I'm not some step-forward wife you can lock away in a kitchen. Brandon hovered awkwardly a few feet away, looking like he wished the earth would swallow him whole. I turned my glare on him. You, I said, voice low. You'll be hearing from my lawyers. Madison was your supervisor. You both violated corporate policy. Hope you like the sound of lawsuits, because you're about to drown in them. He opened his mouth to beg, but I shut it with a single look. Done listening. Done explaining. Madison stepped forward, lowering her voice to a hiss only I could hear. You think this is over? She whispered, eyes glittering with hatred. I'll destroy you for this. I smiled. Cold. Final. You already did, I said. All I did was return the favor. Without another word, I turned my back on the woman who once promised to grow old with me and who instead grew cold. As I walked away, her voice echoed behind me, shrill and desperate. Threats. Insults. Lies. But I didn't look back. Not once. The funny thing is, betrayal doesn't kill you in the moment. It kills you in the quiet. Later. When there's no one left to lie to you anymore. And trust me, the worst was yet to come. Madison wasn't the type to lose quietly. She was the type to set the house on fire just because she didn't get to keep it. And I was about to find out just how deep her madness really went. 3 days. That's how long the silence lasted before Madison struck back. The first sign was small, almost laughably pathetic. A flower delivery to my apartment. The card read, I'm sorry, baby. Let's talk. Signed, Madison. I laughed when I read it. Loud and bitter. She must have thought I was that easy. That a bouquet of overpriced roses could erase months of lies and late-night meetings in motel parking lots. I tossed the flowers straight into the dumpster. She wanted a reaction. She wasn't going to get one. Or so I thought. The real attack came the next morning. I woke up to a buzzing phone, not calls, but notifications. Hundreds of them. Madison had gone nuclear. She posted a public apology on social media, dripping with fake tears and carefully curated heartbreak. A whole novel about how I was controlling, how I didn't support her career, how I neglected her needs as a woman. She even had the audacity to say she tried everything to save our marriage, that emotional neglect had driven her into Brandon's arms. Reading it felt like being punched in the gut over and over. Not because I believed a word of it, but because I knew people would. And sure enough, the comments rolled in. Friends we'd had for years, people who were at our damn wedding, lining up to console her, praising her strength, calling her brave, demonizing me like I was some drunk, abusive monster. I wanted to scream. I wanted to smash my phone against the wall. But I didn't, because anger was what she wanted. Public war was her battleground. She fought with crocodile tears and clickbait headlines. Me? I fought with facts. And patience. Still, the hurt sat heavy in my chest, pressing down harder with every like, every comment, every goddamn stay strong, Madison read hard. I stayed off social media for the rest of the day. Buried myself in work. Buried myself in the gym. Anywhere but that sinking pit of humiliation she dug for me. That night, the doorbell rang. I checked the peephole. Madison, standing there like a sad movie star in the rain, mascara running, arms crossed tight against her chest like she was freezing. I didn't open the door, but I couldn't look away. She pounded once, twice, then leaned her forehead against the door. I still love you, she whispered. So soft I almost thought I imagined it. I should have felt something. Anger. Sadness. Nostalgia for what we used to have. But all I felt was empty. Like someone had scooped my insides out and left nothing but a hollow shell. Eventually, she gave up. Slipped a piece of paper under the door. I waited 5 minutes after she left before picking it up. It wasn't another apology. It was a threat. If you don't come back to me, I'll make sure you lose everything you care about. No signature. None needed. I knew her handwriting better than my own. I stared at that note for a long time, feeling a familiar fire light up inside me. She wasn't sorry. She wasn't heartbroken. She was cornered and dangerous. And if Madison thought I was just going to lie down and let her wreck what was left of my life, she was about to find out just how ruthless I could be. The real war had just begun. The next morning, my lawyer called. His voice was tight, serious. Ryan, we have a problem, he said. I knew it before he even said the words. Madison. Of course it was Madison. She's filed a harassment complaint, he said grimly. She's accusing you of stalking her at the office, making threats, trying to sabotage her career out of spite. I let out a short, humorless laugh. She doesn't even have a job anymore, I said. Doesn't matter, he said. In court, perception is everything. My stomach twisted. This wasn't about justice. This was about narrative. And Madison was painting herself as the poor, wounded princess and me as the dragon. I hung up and sat there in the silence of my apartment, fist clenched, breathing shallow. It wasn't enough for her to betray me. It wasn't enough for her to humiliate me. Now she wanted to destroy me. Personally, professionally, financially. And the worst part? She was good at it. Madison had always known how to twist a story, flash a tear at the right moment, make herself the victim. It's how she'd survived every friendship, every relationship before me. I just never thought she'd turn it on me. For a second, a dangerous second, I considered rolling over, signing whatever paper she wanted, giving her whatever money would make her disappear, just to get my life back. But then I thought about that boardroom, about Brandon's pathetic face, about Madison's fury when she realized she couldn't control the narrative anymore. And I smiled. A real, cold smile. No, not this time. If Madison wanted war, she was going to get it. But not the messy, emotional kind she thrived in. No screaming matches. No public blow-ups. I was going to kill her story the same way I killed her career. Quietly. Completely. Without mercy. First move? Dig. I hired a private investigator that afternoon. Guy named Dean. Ex-cop, mean as hell, and better at finding dirt than a bloodhound. You want me to look for what? He asked, lighting a cigarette. Everything, I said. Where she goes. Who she talks to. Anything that makes her look like the liar she is. Dean grinned, showing crooked teeth. My favorite kind of job. While Dean worked the streets, I worked my own angles. Madison had been sloppy. Arrogant. She thought I was too stupid to notice her cheating, but cheaters are greedy by nature. They leave trails. I started pulling bank statements, phone records, travel receipts. Piece by piece, a very ugly picture started forming. Turns out Brandon wasn't her first little business meeting after hours. There were others. At least 3 other men, some married, some not, all wrapped around her perfectly manicured finger. And she hadn't just betrayed me emotionally. She'd stolen from me. Madison had been funneling money out of our joint accounts into secret savings, probably getting ready for the day she dumped me for a younger, dumber model. Seeing the numbers laid out in black and white hurt worse than any shouting match ever could. It was cold, calculated, premeditated. This wasn't a moment of weakness. This was a pattern, a lifestyle. Madison wasn't a woman who made mistakes. She was a woman who made decisions. Selfish, heartless, deliberate decisions. And now, I was going to make mine. I wasn't just going to defend myself in court. I was going to nuke her from orbit. Take every dirty secret she had and bury her under it. It wasn't about winning anymore. It was about making sure Madison Carter would never screw over another man the way she screwed me. And it was going to be glorious. Dean called me late that night. His voice was low, urgent. Ryan, he said, you're going to want to see this. I met him at a grimy little diner on the edge of town, the kind of place where no one asked questions and the coffee tasted like burnt dreams. Dean slid a manila folder across the sticky table. Pictures. Videos. Bank statements. Messages, he said, sipping his black coffee like it was nothing. Your girl's been busy. I opened the folder. My stomach twisted into a fist. There were photos of Madison, cozy dinners with men who weren't Brandon. Hand-holding. Kisses stolen in dark corners. Whispers over wine glasses. She wasn't just cheating for love. She was hustling them. In one particularly gut-punch photo, she sat in a hotel lobby, laughing into the ear of some middle-aged executive, her hand resting high on his thigh, the picture of casual seduction. Attached was a receipt, a wire transfer from his account to hers. $5,000. She was running a full operation. A part-time gold digger gig right under my nose while pretending to be my wife. And she was good. Damn good. Dean leaned forward, his cigarette hanging from his lip. She's been bleeding suckers dry for years, he said. You're just the longest con she ever ran. I stared at the evidence, emotions boiling under my skin, betrayal, disgust, fury. But deeper than all of it, a cold certainty settled into my bones. Madison thought she was untouchable. She thought she could play men like marionettes, cut strings when she got bored, move on to the next. Not this time. I closed the folder. Good work, I said, sliding an envelope of cash across the table. Stay close. I'm going to need a witness soon. Dean smirked. My pleasure. The next step was simple. Set the trap. Let Madison step right into it, thinking she was still the puppet master. I started by answering one of her texts, the first and only one since the boardroom massacre. Ryan, maybe we should talk. 5 minutes later, my phone blew up. She was falling over herself to meet me. Probably thought she still had a chance to guilt-trip me, spin more lies, reel me back in like one of her other pathetic paychecks. I picked the place carefully, a trendy rooftop bar downtown, full of Madison's kind of people, rich, fake, constantly broadcasting their lives online. Perfect for what I had planned. When she walked in, I almost didn't recognize her. Madison was dressed to kill, tiny red dress, heels that screamed desperation, a glittering fake smile plastered across her face. She spotted me instantly and strutted over, hips swaying like she thought the world still revolved around her. As if I was supposed to be grateful she even showed up. Ryan, she purred, sliding into the seat across from me. Missed me? I didn't answer. Just nodded to the waiter for another round. Patience. Timing. She leaned in, her perfume thick and cloying. I know you're still angry, she said sweetly. But baby, we can fix this. We were good together. You know it. I almost laughed in her face. But I stayed cold, impassive, sipping my drink, letting her talk herself into a corner. You're not like those other guys, she said, reaching for my hand. You're smart, strong, a real man. Every lie slid off her tongue like oil. And she didn't even flinch. But soon, very soon, she was going to flinch. She was going to burn. Because Madison Carter had no idea that hidden in my jacket pocket was a tiny recorder, and that every venomous word she said tonight would be her noose. And I was going to make damn sure the whole world watched her hang herself with it. The recorder in my jacket was already blinking red, capturing every poisonous lie dripping from Madison's mouth. But I wanted more. I wanted her naked, not her body, her soul. I leaned back in my chair and looked at her like a man considering forgiveness. Madison, always the predator, sensed blood in the water. She pushed her drink aside and smiled that same crooked, manipulative smile she probably flashed at Brandon, at every other guy dumb enough to believe he was the one. Ryan, she purred, brushing invisible dust off my sleeve, were perfect together. Those other guys, they were just mistakes. Distractions. You're my real future. It took everything in me not to bark out a laugh. Instead, I let the silence stretch, uncomfortable, heavy. People around us were starting to notice. Good. Let them watch. Let them all witness this. I leaned in, lowering my voice. Then tell me the truth, Maddie, I said. All of it. No more lies. No more games. She blinked, hesitated. Madison was good, but not perfect. And that split second of hesitation was all I needed. She thought she could still win. She put on her best wounded expression, the same one that fooled me once upon a time. I never loved Brandon, she whispered. He meant nothing. It wasn't even about physical stuff. It was just attention. I felt invisible, Ryan. I nodded slowly, pretending to understand. Just him. I asked softly. No one else? She hesitated again. Her nails drummed against the glass. Calculating. Okay, maybe there were others, she admitted, voice so small it could barely be heard. But it's not what you think. I just needed validation. Validation. That's what she called sneaking out to hotels while I made dinner for two, checking her location and finding it unavailable, lying straight to my face with a smile. And the money? I pressed. The private accounts? Her eyes flashed. She hadn't expected me to know about that. The cracks in her facade widened. She shifted in her seat, voice sharpening. I deserved it, she snapped. You think being married to you is easy? All you cared about was your stupid cooking, your grill, your boring little life. I deserved something more. There it was. The real Madison. Not the fake tears. Not the hollow apologies. The cold, bitter creature that only ever loved herself. I smiled slowly. That's all I needed to hear, I said. Confusion flickered across her face, and then fear. What do you mean? She asked, voice trembling now. I pulled the tiny recorder from my jacket, holding it up between two fingers like a trophy. She stared at it, horror blooming in her eyes. You son of a, she started. But I stood up, cut her off. All recorded, all saved, and very, very admissible in court. I leaned down, so only she could hear. You think you're the victim? Maybe. You're about to be the headline. Madison stood too, knocking her chair back with a loud clatter. People turned to stare. Phones were already coming out. Recording. Capturing. Perfect. You can't do this, she hissed, grabbing at my sleeve. Ryan, please. We can fix this. I shook her off like a piece of trash clinging to my jacket. We're way past fixing, I said, my voice low and deadly. You broke us. You broke everything. Her mouth opened and closed like a fish out of water. No lies left to tell. No one left to believe her. I turned and walked away, leaving Madison standing there, humiliated, exposed, and powerless. Exactly the way she had left me. But I wasn't finished yet. Not by a long shot. The real endgame was coming. And Madison Carter was about to learn what it truly meant to lose everything. I didn't sleep that night. Didn't even try. The city buzzed outside my window, sirens, car horns, the hum of lives moving on. I sat there in the dark, staring at the recorder on my coffee table. That tiny little device held her confessions. All her filth. All her betrayals. It wasn't enough to win. I needed to erase her. The way she tried to erase me. At sunrise, I got to work. First, I sent the audio recording to my lawyer. His reply was almost instant. This buries her. She's screwed. Good. But it wasn't enough. Next, I made a few calls. Contacts Madison didn't know I still had. People she had stepped on, screwed over, discarded without a second thought. And they were more than happy to return the favor. By noon, the plan was in motion. Her reputation in the industry? About to be torched. Her social media? About to be flooded with the truth. The perfect little image she built for herself, gone, ripped to shreds by her own hand. Around 2 p.m., my phone buzzed. Dean again. Turn on the news, brother, he said, laughter in his voice. You're gonna love this. I grabbed the remote, flipped it to the local station, and there it was. Madison's name, plastered across the bottom of the screen. Local executive involved in fraud scandal, the headline screamed. Footage rolled, shaky phone videos from the rooftop bar. Her losing her mind in public, screaming, grabbing at me, getting caught red-handed. They played the audio recording too, her shrill confessions and vicious insults against me, against Brandon, against everyone she ever conned. The reporters dug into her side gigs, the private accounts, the payoffs, the little black book of clients she thought were hidden. It all poured out into the world. Unstoppable. Unfixable. Madison Carter was officially radioactive. Nobody would hire her now. Nobody would touch her. She wasn't just unemployed. She was unemployable. I watched it all unfold with a strange, quiet satisfaction. Not happiness. Not revenge fantasy. Just closure. Like closing the cover of a rotten book and throwing it into the fire. My phone buzzed again. A text. From Madison. Madison. You did this. You destroyed my life. I hope you're proud of yourself, you monster. I stared at it for a long time. Then I smiled and typed back. Ryan. You destroyed yourself. I just made sure everyone saw it. No reply. Just silence. The sweetest silence I'd heard in months. Later that evening, Dean sent me one last update. She's skipping town, he said, chuckling. Packed a few suitcases, left her apartment in the middle of the night. Looks like she's running scared. I nodded slowly, feeling something deep inside me finally loosen. Finally heal. Madison thought she could play everyone forever. Thought she could lie, cheat, manipulate her way through life without ever facing consequences. She was wrong. Dead wrong. And now, she was just another name whispered with pity at cocktail parties. Another cautionary tale told over cheap wine and expensive regrets. As for me, I wasn't broken. I wasn't bitter. I was free. But there was still one thing left to do. One final step to make sure Madison Carter never forgot the man she tried to destroy and failed. The end was close. And I was going to savor every second of it. A week later, I stood in front of what used to be our house. The place Madison once called her kingdom. The place I built with my hands, my sweat, my dreams. It sat empty now. Vacant. Cold. Perfect. I held the keys loosely in my hand, listening to the eerie silence. No laughter. No lies whispered behind closed doors. Just wind howling through the hollow halls. The divorce was final. Signed, sealed, bulletproof. Madison didn't even contest it. She was too busy running from the wreckage of her life. As part of the settlement, or more accurately, the crushing defeat, she forfeited her rights to everything. The house, the cars, the accounts, the future she thought she could steal. In the end, Madison walked away with exactly what she deserved. Nothing. I stepped inside one last time, letting the memories flood me, the good ones, the bad ones, the ones that now felt like they belonged to someone else entirely. I didn't want this house anymore. It wasn't home. It was a graveyard. So I lit a match. Metaphorically, of course. I signed the paperwork to sell it. Every stick of furniture, every last piece of her perfect little life, auctioned off to strangers. Goodbye, Madison. Goodbye to the lies she painted into the walls. Walking out, I felt lighter than I had in years. A man reborn through fire. A man who knew exactly who he was and who he would never be again. No more blind trust. No more desperate hope that love alone could fix something rotten at the core. No more carrying dead weight just because I made a promise to someone who never meant a word of hers. The last thing I did before locking the door? I left a single envelope in the center of the empty living room. Inside was a note, one I knew she'd eventually hear about through the gossip mill. It said, "Trophies belong to winners. You lost everything because you gambled with a man who had nothing left to lose." Short, sharp, final. Walking down the driveway, the sun on my face felt warmer. The sky felt wider. Life stretched out before me, clean and wide open, for the first time in years. Did it hurt? Yeah. Every step away from the past hurt like hell. But it also healed. With every breath, I felt more like myself, the man I was always meant to be before she poisoned me with her fake love and endless betrayals. Madison would move on eventually. Some new city. Some new poor fool who thought her smile meant salvation instead of ruin. But I wouldn't be part of her story anymore. I wouldn't be her victim. I wouldn't be her safety net. She burned every bridge. And now she could drown in the river below, all by herself. As for me, I wasn't bitter. I wasn't broken. I was alive. Stronger. Sharper. Smarter. And if I ever loved again, it would be on my terms. Not as a man who gave everything without question, but as a man who knew exactly what he was worth and refused to settle for anything less. My advice to anyone who finds themselves standing where I once stood? Trust actions, not words. Watch how they move when they think you're not looking. And if someone shows you their true colors, don't try to repaint them. Walk away. Burn the bridge. And don't you dare look back. Because freedom doesn't come wrapped in apologies or second chances. It comes when you finally love yourself more than the liar who tried to tear you apart. And trust me, freedom tastes better than any revenge ever could.